I was talking to somebody earlier today, and this is somebody that is not a client. She's just somebody who's been kind of in a peripheral contact with me over the years. And she reached out to me because she was frustrated. She has been involved in a very high-priced mastermind group about goal setting. And she was frustrated because everything was working, but as time went on, she found that she had achieved goals that she had set, but then she was sort of like unachieving them, if you will. That those habits that she had created, those changes that she had made, were falling by the wayside. And she wanted to ask about what my perspective was on the whole thing. And so I shared with her an analogy that I have used recently about, if you're building your dream house and, you've got these wonderful plans, would you really start with building the second floor? Because what happens is that there's nothing to support it. Of course it's going to come crashing down. You've got to have a foundation, you've got to have a first floor before you can build a second floor. And so we talked about, was she creating a foundation as a part of this mastermind group that she was in? And the more we talked, the more I became perplexed, because in reality, no, she wasn't. There really had not been any discussion about a foundation and how that would support the goals that she was setting. And so we talked about something, she's heard me make reference to over the years, but this time we talked about it in a little bit more degree. And I realized it was something that I needed to share with perhaps more detail than I sometimes, have in the past. And it's simply the 7 pillars of a happy and successful life. I developed this about 15 years ago, as I was coming towards what I felt at the time was the end of a journey to hope and healing from childhood sexual abuse that had happened many, many years before, and it had been a long and a convoluted journey. But as I was shutting down a brick and mortar business and trying to figure out how I was going to reinvent myself and embark on my next entrepreneurial venture, I realized that I needed to spend some hard time answering some hard questions for myself. And so that was the genesis of the 7 pillars of a happy and successful life. I said, what are the elements of life that mean something to you? What are all of those? We talk about balance, but what are those elements of life? And they are personal, which is our relationship with ourself. Physical, everything about our bodies, our health. Emotional, which is largely about resiliency and how we deal with the unanticipated, like COVID-19. Spiritual, however we define spiritual. Professional, what brings the money into the household. It doesn't matter if you're an auto mechanic or an attorney. That's your profession. Financial, your stability and your plans, and relationships of all different kinds. Now, when you know what success looks like to you in each of these areas, this is not about what mom and dad said. This is not about what society says. This is about what you in your heart of hearts know for you. And when you have identified that in each of these 7 areas, you can then weave that together to create your unique definition of success. And this becomes the foundation for so many things. Because when you have that unique definition of success, to know what your passion is, to know what your purpose is, to know what it is that you want to accomplish in life. And that becomes really the basis for creating 10-year goals. Backing those up to 5-year goals, to 3-year goals, to 1-year goals, to 90-day goals. And then actually taking it down to what you're going to do today towards achieving those goals. Well, what happens is, Stephen Covey spoke years ago about climbing the ladder of success. but getting to the top of the ladder and finding out it was leaning against the wrong building. When you have a solid foundation, you know that as you climb that ladder of success, that you're going to get to the top of it and it's going to be leaning against the right building. That's what we want. And so that's one of the things that comes with your unique definition of success. Another thing that comes with it that I think is every bit as important is that it becomes a mindful filter so you know when to say yes and when to say no. Almost everybody in our society at some point in time, and frequently, pretty much all the time, feels overwhelmed. There's simply more stuff to do than there is time to do it. And why do we wind up feeling overwhelmed? Well, somebody that we care about asks us if we can help them do something. And we know that we can. We know that it's a capability that we have and we care about them. And so we say yes. And suddenly we've got all of these monkeys sitting on our shoulder that belong to everybody else. And because we're honorable people and because we're overcommitted, we're going to keep our commitments to other people. But what happens is our priorities get procrastinated. They get pushed off. They get left for tomorrow. But we tend to be on this rolling, maybe 2 weeks. I know that for years my mantra was, if I can just survive the next 2 weeks, then I can. The problem was it was a rolling 2 weeks. Something came off this end and it came on this end. And so those things that were important to me weren't happening. And so when I really started to play around with some concepts like keeping commitments to myself and making them as important as commitments to other people, here's one of the things I realized is that when I say yes to helping you with something that is great for you, it is really important to you, but it's only good for me because our perspectives are different and our passions and our purposes are different. What happens is that not only am I cheating myself out of what I need to be doing for me, but in reality, I'm really cheating you also. Because if I give you my very best, but it is only good for me, that will not be as great a contribution to what you're doing as somebody else who is in alignment with that and for whom that is also great. So what happens is when you've got something that is good for somebody else but not great for you, and you say no, it's important in how you say no. You know, you say, hey, I love what you're doing. I think that is really exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing about your success. You're going to accomplish some amazing things. I'm not in a position to help you with that right now, but I am so excited for what you're doing. So what you're doing is you're not taking the monkey and putting it on your shoulders because it's only good for you. It's not great. But you are validating what they are doing, the importance of that, and you are validating them as a person. And that makes a huge difference in our relationships with one another. Now, when you don't have everybody else's monkeys on your shoulders, you're no longer overwhelmed. And you can focus on what is great for you. Now, here's the really cool thing about this. When you are doing what is great for you, and when I'm doing what's great for me, you make the greatest contribution to your own life and to those that you impact and to the world. And I make the greatest impact in my own life and those I impact in the world. And so we're not being selfish. It's absolutely the antithesis of being selfish. What we're doing is we're supporting one another and enabling one another to make the greatest contribution that we possibly can make. And this is an amazing time. This is an amazing thing that happens because that's when transformation happens, is when we're focused on those things that are great for us. And so that's what the 7 pillars of a happy and successful life are all about. They're about creating that foundation so that you can create your unique definition of success, so that you can not only set goals, but you can achieve goals and they're going to be taking you where you want to go, not just because they sound nice or like you should do them, but because there's something that are going to take you to a place that excites you. And in the process of using it as a mindful filter, you're going to learn to say no to good so you can say yes to great. And you're going to change your life, and you're going to change your world and the world of a lot of other people. And that's something that is truly worth celebration. So I'm going to attach below this video a link to a free ebook on the 7 Pillars of a Happy and Successful Life. Download it. Let me know what you think. And then let's talk. And if there's something I can do to explain some of these concepts or help you make those changes that you want to make, there's a whole lot of ways that we can work together to do that. And I'd love the opportunity to have that conversation with you. But in the meantime, embrace the you that you know that you could become. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again soon.